Hello, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and we've got a new paper pad card class today. Strawberry Fields by Echo Park is the paper pad that we use. This is the remainder of mine. We are going to make these 5 cards today. Very fun strawberry cards this time of year. So these 5 cards, if you purchase the kit, it comes packaged like so. In the back, you'll find the remainder of your paper pad as well as the 5 cards kitted up and ready to go. Your instruction sheets will list how to put each card together along with a picture of each card. And on the back, I list all the supplies I use to create the kits. So we are going to jump right in with this first card. May your days be as sweet as you. So I've got a little tray here to put all my die cut bits in. I'm going to empty my kit in there. And we are going to start with this little basket portion of the cards. I'm going to set everything else aside. And you are going to need, this is a weaving die from Hero Arts. And it cuts this frame, and then these are the pieces that came out. So what we're going to do with these strips is we're going to weave them in. So we're just going to start up here at the top and go over under each column here on the frame. So over, under. And then we're going to push it up to the top. So there's our first one. And then our second one, we're going to go the opposite direction. So now like so. And so when you do that, you're going to begin to get this basket weave. So it's going to start to look like a basket. So you're going to have stuff hanging over the edges, and we're going to clean all that up. I wanted my frame to be solid around the outside, so I'll show you how I did that here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and continue weaving. I didn't glue down my card so you can see that I only put these in the top and the bottom, and we're going to cover up the center. So I put 5 in the top. So we're going to go ahead and get those in. Like so. Now you could fill in, if you had this die, you could fill in the whole card. You'll have to cut more of these strips to fill it all the way in. But this is a nice way to only have to run it through your machine once. Still get the basket look. And just on the top and bottom, you could do half. You could go up halfway and then cover the other half. Lots of fun ways to do that. All right, so I've got my 5 in the top. Now, these that are ending, if you can see here, I'm going to hold it up. So they end behind it, and that's great. So I'm just going to go in and put a little glue back here and glue those down and trim off. Because on top, you can certainly glue them that way and just have that basket going off the edge. I kind of wanted that frame all the way around since I'm not, since I won't have the basket in the center. So I wanted that to look a little, I didn't want it to look funny with having pieces overlap here, but not here, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is these pieces that ended up on top, I really just want them to end underneath. So I'm going to pull, and they're just all going to finish behind. So now this is what it looks like. I'm going to do this one too. Pull it. I'll do this one. And I could have done it while I was going, but I didn't want it to be confusing. So now all my pieces are behind this end piece, like so. So what I'm going to do is take now before I do that, the other way you can do it is to come in here, because now I've got two on top over here. So I could come in, I'm coming in with my tweezers from behind. So see how I'm doing that? And I'm just going to pull it through. That's the other way. That's probably a lot easier, just like so. So now all my pieces are ending behind, and it still looks like it doesn't lose that by not going in front. So I'm going to, I have not got my glue started, so let me do that. It's been sitting for a week. I forgot to put the lid on. So let's see if we can get it going. Okay. And I am going to just come back here, lift those up. I'm going to put glue. I put glue on the back. You can see that, hopefully. And then I'm just going to make sure they're all pressed up tight and just press that down. Maybe not on my card base. All right, so now all those pieces are attached, and I'm just going to take some straight edge scissors and trim those off. And voila. Let's do the other side. Easier to pull it away. Okay. Pull them in tight. Press down. I got a little too much glue. All right, so that's glued down. I'm going to take my scissors and trim that off. So there's the top portion of my basket, and I'm going to repeat that exact same thing on the bottom. This time I'm only going to have 4 strips, but it will end up looking just the same. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. And this time, because I know that I want them to all finish, I'm just going to make sure they finish that way. It'll be a lot easier. And you can glue as you go. So there's several ways to do that. But since now they're both behind, and I'm going to start behind, and then I need to go the opposite. So we need to go just like so. And the last one. All right, I didn't do that right here. This one ended in front of, so I'm just going to go pull that out. All right, now they're all behind, nice and tight, straight. Put glue there and press. Other side. All right, let's trim those off. All right, so now that I have that portion, that's what it's going to look like. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that down to my card base. I think I'll use glue here on the edge. cards opening the right way and go ahead and put that down. All right, so that's what it looks like. And now you have, we're going to grab this berry piece of paper. It's red on the back. And you have 2 scallop borders. So I am going to place glue on the edge, my scallop border, and then place this on top. And I'm going to center mine because I want my scallops to be even on both sides. I'm going to use my grid to get it straight. Go. Then put glue here and repeat that. All right. And then I'm just going to take my scissors and trim. All right, so we have that piece done, and that is going to cover up the big hole in the center, just like so. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And now we're ready for the sentiment. So you have this, may your days be as sweet as you, cut apart, and it's got a much bigger red border here than it does here. That's fine. We're going to glue this piece down, centered on the red. And I glued that down straight. You could pop it up if you want. I did pop up my berries. So I'm just going to glue it down straight and put it right in the center. All right, so now we are ready for, let's layer up our strawberries and our flowers. So we have 3 small strawberries. And as I was putting things away, I realized this is not actually a strawberry. I used the wrong dye in the set, but it works. We're going to use it anyway. Totally fine. This is from I gave away one of my greenery pieces. I'm going to have to cut that real quick. All right, I got my little green piece cut. So now we can put the stems on the berries. So we've got 1 small berry here. Put this on. So piece there and a little glue there. Got 2 cute little strawberries, 3 actually. And you should have 3 white flowers. We're going to put the flower centers in. 1, 2, 3. And those are on a little piece of blue Post-it tape. 1, 3. All right. We're going to take this and we're going to cut it in half. So there's 5. I'm going to cut off just like so. There's 1, 2. I just want those 2 by themselves like that. And we've got 3. So this is going to go up here. And this is going to go down here. We're just going to slide it under. I probably should have, I used wet glue, so I'm not going to be able to tuck that under. So I'm going to trim this off. I'll put it just like so. Well, when I can, I'm going to trim that off too. Like so, and then this big berry is going to go on top. Happy with that. I'm going to glue those down. And I'm going to pop up this berry. And then we've got a little flower. I'm just going to tuck in right here on that leaf. So, and then that's popping up a little bit, and I kind of like that. So I'm just going to put a little piece of foam there. But you can certainly just glue it straight down. All right, this one I'm going to glue down just like so. And then these two are kind of layered up. So I think I have the bigger one in the front, smaller one in the back, kind of covering that stem. It's going to be just like that. And then the flower, but I did pop those up. So I kind of like the way that's laying right there. So let's see. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to put a little dot of glue. Let go. That's not where it was. And just like so. And then together, I'm going to put a foam on the back. Those are going to go just like that. And we're going to tuck in. I've got a flower blossom here. And the other, you can put wherever you want. I think I'm going to tuck it in right there. All right. And that card is finished. All right, our next card is I Will Always Pick You. It's a sweet little bunny. This one has lots of little bits as well. So let's start real quick with the background. So you have this blue panel and this gingham panel. And I'm going to put a couple strips of adhesive at the bottom of this. And I gave you this piece long because I want the gingham. Here it starts with the dark red, and I want it to also finish. I cut this down so it would fit on there perfectly. You could certainly just put it on and cut it off too if you are not into those little details. I'm going to put that down and then just take my scissors, or you could use a trimmer, and just trim that off. Not do a very good job with that side. Try that again. There we go. So now that looks nice and neat there. The red on both sides. There we go. Okay, and then this is going to go on to the white card base. Nice thick white border, like so. And now we can put together our rest of our pieces. So I'm going to start with a crate. You have the crate itself, and then you have the 3 boards. And I gave you a black strip of cardstock, and this black strip is going to go behind the nail holes. So some of these are going to get poked out. I'm going to do that real quick. And what I'm going to do is cut little black squares and put it behind. So I'm going to put some glue here, both sides. And I'm going to trim off 2 little pieces and just put them right on the back, just like so. And now we got black nails. I'm going to repeat that for these other 2. All right, those are finished. Now you could certainly ink up. I think I did ink up, but for to save some time in class, we did not. I think it's fine if you don't, so I'm not going to here, so you can see the difference. And there are 3 strips on this crate. You can kind of see where it juts out. There's a little cutout there. There's a line on top, and you just stick that down just like so. Final one. And it just gives a little look of dimension. So there's your crate. And let's put our berries together. So you should have 5 berries. You have 3 large berries and 2 smaller. We're going to find the stems. There's a large. There's a large. I believe they're blue on the back. So if you're having trouble locating them, that. I'm missing one. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. One of them is tucked inside the crate. So, oh, it's right here. Good grief. Okay. Let's see. Flip them over. All right, I'm going to put glue at the top of these berries. All right. The same for the small ones. All right. The berries are done. Let's put together a bunny. We have the bunny's body, his head, and then for the back of the face, you have this piece I think looks like goggles or like ski goggles. We've got that. Red and pink on the other side. This will go behind his nose, and this goes behind his ears. So we're going to flip him over. And I'm going to start with the ears. So I'm going to put glue back there. Then we're going to flip this over because we want the pink to show, and it should fit right inside there. So now he's got pink behind his ears. Whoa, shot the end up. And now we can put on the goggles and the circle. So we're just going to put some glue back there. Start with the goggles, like so, and the circle, just like so. When you flip him over, he has pink ears, a pink nose, and black eyes. And then here we have a little embossed line on the body, and that is so you know where the head goes. Stick him on there like so. And then his arm, so the bigger end goes on his body. So I'm going to put a couple blue dots there. And I'm going to kind of tuck it in behind his head if I can. Not too much. And the other one. They can be overlapping. All right. Mine are overlapping here. They're not. So actually, I think I cut the wrong arms now that I'm looking. That's fine. This part's going to be hidden anyway. Oh my gosh, I just ripped his head off. Let's try that again. Yeah, there was smaller arms I should have cut. That's okay. All right, so we are going to take our crate and we're going to take our 3 large berries. My crate's going to be right in here somewhere, so I'm going to tuck 2 berries like so. So I'm just going to put a line of glue here and pick up those berries. Oh, that almost worked. All right, so I just want them to look like they're inside popping up. And this last one, I'm going to kind of tuck in here and have it to the right, like so. Okay. My sentiment is going to cover up this big hole in the crate on this side. So I'm not worried about that. All right. So we're going to come all the way over, and it can go behind. It's not a big deal. There is, like, it's not, the ratio is not normal. Your bunny and all that. Berries are bigger than the bunny and all that. It's just for fun. So we're going to go something like this. And then this hole in the crate is going to be covered by the sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and glue the crate and the berries down. You could certainly put the smaller berries too inside the crate, but then the bigger ones are too big for the outside. So I'm going to glue that down. Let's make sure I have room for my sentiment. Perfect. And we're going to put glue on the back of the bunny. And I have him peeking from behind the basket. Oh, and I used a different face on him. I kind of like that face better. I didn't even pay attention to that. Okay. Let's pop up our sentiment. All right, I put foam on the back of the sentiment and I'm ready to put that down. So I'm just gonna find where I want to put it. Press it down. So we've got the I will always pick you, and now we're gonna finish off. We have a couple strawberries here that are just laying next to. We've got our flowers and our leaves that we cut apart, and then our flower centers. So let's get those on. One, two, three. All right. So I like right where that one is. I'm going to put some glue behind it. And then I am going to pop up this strawberry a little bit. I'm going to put foam just on this side that's hanging off. And then I'll glue this part because there's all those layers there. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to tuck in some leaves here and there. So I've got a leaf here. I do have one coming off of the strawberry up there. And you could put one there. I think I have them both. Yeah, they're both right here. Just like so. Let's glue those in. they are. The flowers, there's one there. There's our other flower. Oh, I don't like where that leaf is. Let's see. All right. And that card is finished. Okay, our next card. So one thing I just forgot to mention, maybe I can go back. When we open this card kit, there should have been, I'm going to open this card kit. There should have been 3 pieces that we didn't use that you're probably wondering, what were these for? I kind of forgot about that. I moved them over in class and then I forgot to mention that. So you had these 3 pieces inside this card kit. There's this rectangle. This is actually going to be our seed packet. So this is the little lid or flap. And this is the lid for your trowel. So those pieces should have been pulled from the last kit and set aside. I do have that written on the written instructions, but I forgot about that. So we're going to need those now when we come to this card kit. But so we're going to start here. We're going to start by, use this instead. We're going to add this red strip to the left side. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to start on the edge and glue it right. There is kind of a right side. All the berries are up and down. And then I cut it a little long so that you could get it to match. Sometimes when we're dealing with 8s, they don't get cut exactly the same, and then you'd end up with it too short. So that's why I give it to you long, so we can make sure that it fits. So now this panel can go onto your card base, and you're going to have a real thin white border. Well, that's down now. Isn't quite even, but that's okay. And this is going to jut up to the edge of that striped paper, just like so, about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. There we go. All right. So now to layer up some of our items. So we have the watering can, and you should also have another blue die cut in here. Blue triangle. And that is going to go behind the watering can. Just like so. All right. And then we have the leaves, and there is a slit here in the top of the watering can. So I'm going to tuck them in, and I'm going to pull it all the way to the right and then turn it down so that when we put it here, it fits. If you have it up, then you're going to cover up your sentiment. So just like so. That looks good to me. So I'm going to come in here and just glue that in place so it doesn't move. Right. We can go ahead and glue that down. I glued the watering can straight down. And it's kind of right at the bottom of the circle. I try to keep it in the circle, but if you can't, that's fine. So there's that. For the strawberry, this time we have the detail piece. So you should have a craft back, the red detail piece, and then the top. So we're going to glue the red to the top of the craft. And then we'll glue the stem on top. Here it is. And I did pop that up. A foam dot behind there. And I'm going to have it just right here. So, and now do our seed packet. So we're going to put the little flap on top. And you have your little trowel here. We're going to put the handle on it. This was from that first kit. Handle. And then you have a small strawberry on the top. I'm going to put some glue there. The stem on, and I put that in the middle of the seed packet. You can pop it up if you want. I did here. This time I'm just going to glue it straight on. Little strawberry seeds, and those are going to go right there. I am just going to glue that straight down. Like so. And I did pop up the trowel, so I'm going to put some on the handle and on the shovel itself. And that's just going to lay in front of watering can, overlapping the seed packet. And then we're going to finish with our flowers. So you should have 5. I have 4 here. I'm not sure why. Hopefully you have 5. If you don't, well, we're going to make 4 work. I don't know what happened to it. That's okay. Let's go ahead and put our centers in. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're really just covering this stem. So just like so, you can fill them in. I have 3 right there. I have 1 here and 1 down there. So I'll just do without the one hanging off up here, which is totally fine. Go. Put one down here by the seed packet. Perfect. And that card is finished. All right, our next card here. Thanks, have a sweet day. This one also has lots of die cuts. Empty those out. And where shall we start? Let's start with our frame. All right. So we have this piece here. This is going to go in the center of your card. All right. So we're going to put that down centered. All right. And then your frame is going to go right on top. Now, I popped up my frame. So it's entirely up to you. If you don't want to pop up your frame, then don't. You won't have to cut out all these little pieces of the flower, so it'll be easier, and you can pop up other elements. Entirely up to you. Okay, so my sound cut out, so I'm going to have to do a voiceover, so that's why I sound different. But what I'm doing here is putting that frame on after I've removed all the backing from the foam. You will notice in the two corners I've removed the tulips. That is not necessary since they're going to be covered by those strawberries, but I removed them just so I didn't have to put foam on them. Now I am going to layer up my 3 strawberries. I'm going to put the craft behind the red detail piece with the seeds cut out, and then I'm going to put the green toppers on top. Okay, so I am going to add those layered strawberries to the corners. I've got a large and a small in the bottom right hand corner and a larger one in the top left corner, and I'm going to add those first. I'm using foam, so they're at the same level as my frame, but if you didn't pop up your frame, you could still use foam here if you choose. But I'm going to put those on first because you can see in a couple of the areas that the flowers overlap the strawberries, so I'm going to put those on first. Alright, so I have my strawberries on there, and now I am going to match up the white flowers to the green flowers in the frame. So there's 3 different sizes, a large, a medium, and a small. And I'm just going to add glue to the petals and add the white right on top. Now, if you didn't pop up your frame and you wanted to pop up these white flowers, you totally could. It's up to you. I will note that I believe there are 9 flowers, and the one in the top left-hand corner, there's no flower there. I just added it on top of the strawberries, so that should help with placement. And I believe it is a middle-sized flower, if that helps. But once you get all the flowers on, then you're going to go through and add the yellow centers. They also vary in sizes, so you just do your best to match them up. Okay, so I have all my flowers down, and I put a clear block on top, and I'm going to wait for that to dry. So I am going to take this stem that has 5 leaves, and I'm going to cut each leaf off so that I end up with 5 individual leaves to tuck in around the frame. I have not put my flower centers on. I will get to that. But I'm also going to grab the sentiment banner that says "Have a Sweet Day." And there's a strip of paper here that is pink on one side, red on the other. And I'm going to glue it to the back of the banner so that the letters show the color through. So you can choose red or pink. I use the red. So you can make that choice and then trim off the excess. Alright, so I finally got around to putting those flower centers on, so I'm just finishing those up. And now I'm going to put my sentiment on first before I tuck in those leaves so that I know I have the proper spacing and room that I want for my sentiment. So in my sample, I used foam. I'm going to put it down flat on this card, and I end up liking that better. So that's up to you. Maybe you'll be able to see the difference here. So I'm going to glue down that thanks. And I can't remember, we'll see if I use foam on the banner or not. So I'm talking about it being popped up. So here I'm just going to glue it down flat as well. And it's going to go centered right under the word thanks. You kind of use the grid pattern on the pink paper to get those things straight. And now I'm going to go through and tuck in my leaves. So I've just kind of got them scattered wherever. There's no right or wrong. I think I have a couple by the strawberries in the bottom right corner, and I've just tucked them here and there. So I'm just going to go in, glue and tuck. You can use foam if you want. I think what I choose to do is put a piece of foam on the end of the leaf and then glue the base of the leaf down. Just create some dimension here and there. So it's completely up to you how you choose to do that. All right, so here I am gluing down my final leaf and just adding foam on that end. And I believe that once I have that in there, this card will be finished. All right, we've got our final card here. So I am going to start with the frame. Nope, I'm going to start by putting that paper down onto the white card base. So it should just cover the whole base. Make sure my card's opening the right way. Yep, and put that paper down. And now for the frame, it's up to you if you want to use foam. I love to use foam, so I'm going to put foam on the back of the white frame and then stick it on top of the pink gingham paper. If you want to skip the foam here, you certainly can. Just glue that frame on top of the pink gingham paper. So now I have my frame built and I'm adding glue to the back, and I'm going to stick that down in the center of my card. I'm just using my grid mat to help with the alignment of that. So once we get it where we want, just give it a good press. And now you're going to find that stem die cut with all the leaves, and we are just going to glue that straight down. And we do have it up and pretty close to the top. It's going to feel, you don't want to center it, you want to leave room for that big strawberry at the bottom. And so you have a large and a small strawberry. I'm going to find the toppers and add those. I'm throwing around my glue base. We're going to add the green toppers to the strawberries. And I'm trying to remember if I used foam. I think what I may have done is used foam where the toppers are, like at the top of the strawberry, and glued the berry down just to create some dimension. One thing I forgot to do before I glued that down is I cut off that middle leaf on the side with 3 leaves, and I'm going to use it somewhere else. So my glue didn't dry yet, and since it's going to be covered, I don't need to worry about ripping that paper underneath. If it won't work for you, it's okay. I think it's really not that big of a deal. So I'm going to tuck that strawberry in behind that one leaf there, and then this one, and that's what I'm going to do with that extra leaf. So like I said, if that won't come up for you, I apologize. I forgot to add that part even into the instructions, so no big deal. I'm going to put foam on the back, looks like at the top, and I'm going to put glue at the bottom of the strawberry. And that just kind of gives the illusion of it hanging. So there's that. And I'm going to repeat that same process with the larger strawberry. And then I'm just going to take this leaf and tuck it in behind that berry, like so. And now we have those 5 flowers, and you should have 5 yellow centers. So I'm going to place these flowers kind of where I think I want them. There are 5. And you can use foam here and there if you want. I think I may have popped up a couple of them, so you probably see that here, but I'm going to pick up the ones that I did not pop up and go ahead and get those glued down. And then it looks like I used foam on 2 of them. So you get little pieces of foam to put on the back. All right, I've got all those flowers where I want them, and I'm going to go in and put glue in all the centers and add those yellow flower centers. Okay, so I've got all the centers in my flowers, and our final step for this card is to add the sentiment. You make life sweeter. I am going to pop it up, but since there is also foam on my frame, I'm going to have to be strategic about where I place my foam. So you're going to see me keep laying it down and putting foam on and laying it down to make sure there's no interference with that frame. So it looks like I'm removing the backing, and we're going to place that sentiment down. Use my tweezers because it gives me a little bit more freedom than my fingers. And so we're just going to place that in there. And I think my R is slightly hanging off the card. So you're going to watch me. Am I going to pull it up, or am I just going to leave it be? Nope, I'm going to pull it up. I can be very fiddly sometimes. So I'm going to just scoot that over a little bit so that the full sentiment is on my card and won't get ripped off if it gets snagged on something. Okay, that looks better. Maybe. Okay. And that card is finished. And that does it for this card class. I hope you enjoyed these very sweet cards. If you're interested in a kit, you can look us up at FromMomentsToMilestones.com and search for our card kits there. I will leave a link below. Have a great day.